Thank you. Now, controversial MP Clive Palmer has been forced to defend allegations of dodgy business dealings while forging his political career. Workers met yesterday in Townsville. They lost their jobs when Palmer's Queensland Nickel went into voluntary administration earlier this year. Now there are accusations, aired by Four Corners last night, that he was a shadow director, calling the shots after being elected to Parliament.
Has Clive Palmer been running that place?
Talk to the administrators.
Because it looks as though he's been a shadow director.
Well, that's your opinion in the media, no one else's.
Would you disagree?
Of course I do.
But the documents suggest otherwise.
There's no documents for you to refer to.
There's a lot of documents.
I don't think so.
The allegations coincide with an administrator's report into Queensland Nickel, which is due to be released today. Clive Palmer joins us now. Clive, good morning to you. You say Four Corners was misleading. Let's go through some of the allegations made. First of all, this one that you had the final say about millions of dollars in spending at Queensland Nickel under the alias Terry Smith after officially standing down when you were elected to Parliament. Is that right or wrong?
Well, I stood down as Director of Queensland Nickel, but I remained as a member of the Joint Venture Committee. The Joint Venture is made up of two companies who own the refinery, and Queensland Nickel is just a manager with no assets and anything else. And there's a Joint Venture agreement that was put in place in 1992 by the Queensland Government, which we've followed religiously, which sets out what Queensland Nickel is required to do contractually to satisfy the Joint Venture Committee. This is just a complete beat-up because the federal government is doing nothing about the 100,000 people that have lost their jobs across Australia out of the resource boom, when the Chinese government is injecting 30 billion yuan into the economy in China for their metals processing industry. The Canadian government is providing free energy. Malcolm Turnbull's doing nothing, sitting on his hands. That's the true story, Kosh.
Because we want to talk about Queensland nickel miners, which we will in a minute. This committee, though... hang on, we'll get to it. This committee, though, that you're on, really held the purse strings for the venture, didn't it? It approved every expense, every payment over $500.
The committee that you're talking about is a committee that approved capital expenditure, which I was a member with 5 other employees, not directors, 5 other employees.
So you're an
employee? No, I'm a member of the Joint Venture Committee, which is not part of Queensland Nickel, but which Queensland Nickel is responsible to.
OK, but you were saying the other 4 employees. So how would you describe your role?
Correct.
Just a consultant, a interested party?
No, I've got an official role under the Joint Venture Agreement to monitor what Queensland Nickel does, so it meets the requirements of the Joint Venture Agreement. That's laid down in a contract since 1992. This is the biggest beat-up. Yeah. There's always something happening to Clive Palmer. For 3 years, I've come on your program, heard allegations about this, taking $12 million. It's just rubbish.
But a lot of people,
the two-party system in Australia doesn't want anyone else.
You stepped down as a director, but you still controlled the dough,
Look,
the
what
money.
Rubbish. But what rubbish? I mean, you know, this structure was set up by the Queensland government in 1992, when in 2009 the nickel price was $7.50. I came in, put billions of dollars in. $4,000 million has gone into North Queensland out of our money to save jobs for 9 years. Yet Malcolm Turnbull couldn't find $10 million to keep these people employed.
Another allegation.
How can we compete with China and other countries that do that?
Another allegation was that this committee.
Make allegations.
Hang on, you need to answer them.
True.
You need to answer them. But did this committee you were on and Queensland Nickel pay any companies associated with you? Mineralogy, $2.5 million. The Coolum Resort, $350,000. The political advertising firm, Atomic Pixel, $220,000. They're associated with you.
Can I answer your question?
Yeah. Did that committee pay that money to those companies?
No, that committee.
No, they didn't.
No, that committee didn't.
Yes or no?
I'm the shareholder of the company. There's no mums and dads shareholders. All the money that's got in there, it's been injected, has been my money. I wrote a cheque for $2.5 million at Christmas so the staff could be paid their wages at Christmas. I did that from my money.
Were payments made to those associated companies? Were payments made to those associated companies of yours?
I'll just say it again for you, Koshi. Queensland Nickel has no assets, has no funds. Those funds are the funds of my private companies who are the joint venture partners running this. And that's what happened. Now, this is a big beat-up because Malcolm Turnbull will not do anything and no industrial response to the tens of thousands of people losing their jobs in Whyalla and other places. It's just trying to divert attention.
What are you doing for Queensland nickel workers, though, who are owed $70 million? Now, forget Malcolm Turnbull. What are you doing as someone associated with Queensland Nickel to help those workers?
Well, first you have to understand that their entitlements came due while they were employed by the Queensland government, owned Queensland Nickel, and by BHP. They've contributed zero to their entitlements. But I feel confident and sure that in the next couple of weeks their entitlements will be paid.
Right.
And I think that's, they've just got to wait for the administrator's report. The administrator's report's coming out. There's a creditors meeting taking place. I've restrained from commenting on this, but the press runs wild because let's get Clive Palmer off the political scene because he stopped the 2014 budget. He saved this country from obliteration by the Abbott government. That's all it's about. Politics. It's not about countless of people have lost their jobs. 22,000 people in Queensland, but you haven't reported it. You haven't been there for the other companies, have you? No. You don't care about those 22,000 people in Queensland, the 10,000 people in Whyalla. You just care about Clive Palmer. I'm not important.
We're caring about your workers from Queensland Nickel, and you're accusing everybody else of not looking after workers. You've got some directly responsible for you,
I'm a member of Parliament.
and you're actually not
business 3 years ago.
Has Queensland Nickel ever contributed to the Palmer United Party?
No, it hasn't. Queensland Nickel doesn't have any funds.
Has the joint venture
money and donated it.
Okay, definitions here. Has the joint venture...
I own the joint venture. It's my property. I own the joint venture companies, 100%. They don't borrow money from the banks. They don't have investors, mum and dad investors. There's no public interest in that. That's my funds. I don't know how you spend your money that you get paid by Channel 7. But I mean, that's my money. That's what we live in, a free society. Okay. And people have the right to spend their money as they see fit.
Should Queensland Nickel be put into liquidation and then the government can actually pay the $70 million to the workers?
Well, I don't want to preempt what the creditors want to do at the meeting. I don't think it's a proper role for me as a person who isn't a director of the company to have a view on that. I think we're just going to wait and see what happens. But certainly the government should realise that the Queensland Nickel Company paid $50 million a year in taxes in group tax. They supported the Townsville community, employed 3,000 people. Well, they employed 800 with 3,000 jobs in North Queensland.
$70 million.
They could have given $10 million to keep it going. It had no bank debt, not like Whyalla that's got $2 billion in debt that Christopher Pyne wants support so he can get re-elected. He's scared that he'll be defeated at the next election.
All right, Clive Palmer,
I'm not sure we've got any answers out of this and
you're prepared to do it, but we'll leave it there.
You're a great Australian, Koshi. Good on you. See ya.